Hello and welcome to Creative Sparkle. My name's Holly and today we're doing an art journal prompt list, so grab your art supplies and let's get crafting. Hello and thank you for joining me today. So the first prompt for this prompt list is going to be priming a page as needed. Now I've decided that because I'm working in a non-recycled book, I don't necessarily need to prime the page. If you need to prime your page, then absolutely fine, but I'm going to continue without doing so. So prompt number 2 is to use tissue paper or napkin for your background. So I'm using Mod Podge to attach this tissue paper that I have, and I'm going to put a full layer on the full page, just on one of the pages for now, and then I'm going to stick it down. I'll start at the centre and I'm going to use a ruler to try and flatten it out properly. So if you want to use napkin or you have tissue paper of your own, you don't have to stick it down fully like I am. You could do it in a collage method, so you can stick down pieces instead of the full strip. Use whatever you have available to you, and you can use obviously a different kind of glue. Whatever you have available is fine. So once you're happy with your tissue paper or napkin, we'll move on to prompt number 3, which is to use a watered down or clear medium to cover the spread. So making sure step 2 is still visible, which is the tissue paper or napkin. So I've decided to use clear gesso, and I'm just spreading it over the background. So you obviously can't see the clear gesso because it's clear, but if you wanted to do a watered down colour, for example, then feel free to do so, as long as you can still see that pattern in your napkin or tissue paper. So once you've done that, we'll move on to the next prompt, which is prompt number 4, and it's to add texture paste without using a stencil. So the texture paste I've chosen to use is an opaque crackle paste, which is by Ranger, and I'm just applying it with a palette knife, and I'm just going to put the patches over the page. And because it's crackle paste, you won't see the effect until it's dry, so once it's dried it will be all crackled. So you could do it differently to how I've done it. You could make a border, for example, or you can cover the whole page in paste if you want to. So just do what you feel is best for your page. Now, unfortunately for this page, it did warp it slightly, but I'm okay with that. So prompt number 5 is to create or choose a focal image on a separate piece of paper. I have this image from a magazine, and because it was from the middle of a magazine, it's got a line down the middle, but it's not something I need to worry about, I don't think. So it needs to be on a separate piece of paper because the next step is going to apply to the focal image as well. So the focal image I've chosen is a silhouette of a person, but you can use whatever you like. So step number 6 is to cut up your focal image and add it to the page as a mosaic. So I'm just cutting randomly over the image, and because the page is warped, I'm going to be using gel medium to stick those down. But obviously, if your page hasn't warped like mine, which I can't imagine it will if you haven't used crackle paste, and these pages are quite flimsy as well, so I should have expected it really. And I was going to redo the page, but then I decided that I was just going to work through it and just try to stretch it out and flatten it out a bit, so I think it looks alright now. So I'm using gel medium just to stick those pieces down because of the texture in between, but you just do whatever feels appropriate for your image and your page. So for the next prompt, which is prompt number 7, we're going to choose pieces of ephemera and also add them as a mosaic. So the images that I've chosen to add as my ephemera were actually on the image that the focal image was originally, and I photocopied it because there was only 2 of those, so I photocopied it, and so now I have 3 of each instead of just the 2. So I'm just cutting those, and again I'm going to add them with gel medium onto my warped page. So adding those as a mosaic as well, obviously we're going to need something that's a bit more flat, so keep that in mind when you're choosing. So step number 8 is to use a water-based medium to add interest to your layout, and I've decided to go with a gelato. So I'm just scribbling the gelato onto the board that I have behind the page, and then I'm watering them down and adding that to the page as a watercolour. I do have to apologise for what's happening with my light at the moment. I'm not really sure what's going on, but hopefully you can still see well enough as to what is happening on the page. So the water-based medium, I am just adding it to the crackle paste, so it's going to bring out those cracks, but you can add it however you wish. So for the next step, which is prompt number 9, we're going to add a one-word title. And I found these stickers in my stash, and I'm just going to add those randomly so that it spells anonymous. And I'm going to have to use some gel medium to stick those down on the page as well, because it's so warped again. So I'll do that, and then I just want to make sure that it doesn't look too organised, so I'm going to make sure that they're all warped. So for the 10th and final prompt, we're going to use a pen to add doodling to finish. And I decided to try and make some shapes that go with the ephemera that I've used and the focal image. So some of those cell looking things. So I'm just adding that with a Sharpie. And obviously if that's not what you want to do, you could outline your ephemera, you could add some doodling to your focal image, you could add a border with a pen, whatever you feel is appropriate to your page. So I hope you did like this page, and if you did, please do give it a thumbs up and get subscribed to catch the next one. If you do decide to take part in the prompt list, please do tag me on Instagram with the hashtag #sparkleprompts. I would love to see your creations, and I will see you next time, where we will turn your creative spark into creative sparkle. Thanks. Bye.